Hi there team, Coach Alexa here. So in today's Pillars of Health video, I wanted to talk about ultra-processed foods. Now it's a topic that has really got into people's awareness recently. There's been quite a lot of sort of press and stuff in the media and social media, which is great that there's more awareness of this, but as often happens with more awareness, there comes more different sort of thoughts on it, more confusion almost about what actually are people talking about, and more people questioning about, what an ultra processed food is, and lumping in all types of food that have been processed in some way into that category. Now, so to start things out, we as humans are I think one of the things that many things that differentiates itself from all the other animals is that we process our foods, right? So we cook them. Or we keep churning milk away for ages until it turns into butter, or we brew drinks in order to make beer. We cook things, we mix them together, we might add a little bit of salt and a pinch of pepper and some spices, and so that is all processing food. So if I go to my local Italian restaurant and order a pizza, they've taken flour and water and yeast and things to process the food to make that pizza dough, and process the tomatoes in order to make the sauce, etc. So not all processed food is bad, right? And even not all kind of ready meals are bad. So I often have a sort of few cook ready meals in my freezer. And actually, if you look at their company and their ethos, and more importantly, the ingredients on the back of their packs, it's basically just them cooking stuff in their kitchen. None of this sort of added other stuff. They cook it, they batch it up, and they immediately freeze it, and you keep it frozen, until you're ready to reheat it at home. So it's exactly the same as I would do if I did my own batch cooking, which I also do. So sitting alongside them are little Tupperware things of batch cooked stuff that I've made. The key differences with the ultra processed foods is basically the level of sneakiness from the food companies that make them. So these are foods that have even got some quite complicated neuroscience behind them, and have been designed specifically to be a texture that bypasses the little signal that goes from our stomach to our brain to say we're full. That maybe has been specifically kind of chemically engineered and designed so that the levels of salt, sugar and fat are all at this certain amazing kind of bliss point level, which means that we will eat a lot more of those foods. So even in savoury foods, you might see quite a high sugar level because they're trying to make it as appealing as possible for our brains. So we eat more of it and they make more money. Hurrah for them. The problem with that is, as you can kind of think through, if you're adding lots of fat and salt and sugar to things in order to hit these bliss points, they're not particularly healthy, really, are they? And something that's got that sort of really soft texture, that's often achieved by adding various different chemicals and different agents to the foods, which again is not good for our health, and also means that you're missing out on all of the things that give food texture, like fibre, which is incredibly important for our health. So a top tip, and it's often quoted, but I think it's a good place to start, is looking at the ingredients on the back. If there's loads of stuff in there that you don't understand what it is, and it's all a kind of a bit baffling, then, ask a few questions. Now, sometimes, like a little bit of citric acid, which is effectively lemon juice, might be added to fruit juice, which is fine. Sometimes we have things like stabilizers that are added to flour to make sure that in the sort of cooking process you don't get anomalies and lumps in bread. So some of these things, it depends on context, which is why it's a bit of a difficult one. But some of these things are just added to food to make them maybe, a little bit more versatile, so they can be transported from where they're made to our houses, etc. But other times they're being added in to make them a lot cheaper to make, so cutting out all of what you would normally put in such and such a product and fill it with much cheaper stuff, but make it taste as good, if not hit these bliss points even more, so you eat more of it by kind of deliberately engineering the food. So have a little bit of a think, they're to have to sort of easy and healthy go-to things that you can grab when you are hungry, or you get home from work late and you haven't got the energy to cook. Then have a few backup plans already in the house, maybe batch cooked, maybe some sort of healthy kind of go-to ready meals. And do, if you can, hunt out on iPlayer a great program called Irresistible, which goes into this whole topic quite scientifically and quite interestingly in a lot more detail. When it comes to runners, you know, there's been a few runners that have started questioning, oh, you know, are energy gels ultra processed foods? You know, what about protein drinks and supplements and things like that? And I would say there can be a little bit of overlap potentially in terms of, you know, how you might find out about an ultra processed food. There might be lots of chemicals that you don't recognise in a supplement. Often they're just the chemical name for a vitamin, for example, but you know, who would know? So I think there's a little bit of nuance around the intention about what people are making them for. So yes, you know, an energy gel is just basically for different types of sugar and some different flavourings according to taste. Yeah, but you know, it might be categorised on that sort of spectrum of processed foods, but actually it's for a reason, because it's getting, you know, just what we need with the electrolytes and the sugars in a really easy, quick to grab form. So yeah, having a bit of a think around all of that, doing a bit of research, reading the labels, and yeah, I would recommend Irresistible on iPlayer if you want to find out more.